Hola community, welcome to another episode of Blender Today Live, this weekly gathering where we see what's new in Blender since last week. Last week I mentioned that it was the past week was bug sprint fixing week, where developers focus only on bug fixing. However, they somehow managed to deliver some news for us to share today, mainly around grease pencil, some geometry nodes, some branches having updated as well. So if we have some time, maybe we can see that. If you're new on the show, I been making this show weekly, where I show mainly what you can find on official master branch of Blender, where it's gonna come out in the next release. So I try not to go too much into branches, you know, like individual asset management or cycles X or grease pencil object, or branches that are more, or sculpt dev, for example, by Pablo. He's been working on that, but I try to focus mainly on what is available now on the main branch that you can download from builder.blender.org. So we are streaming live all the way from Amsterdam in Blender.community. There is this blog post by the great and only the Covelab. Thanks for making this thread. I'm gonna be answering some questions here towards the end of the show, so leave your questions here. Blender.community, and the community is called Today because it's Blender Today. Episode 150. So actually, if for every Pokemon of the first release of the first generation, we will still be missing one Pokemon, actually, Mew. Never mind that. Let's see what's new in Blender today. How's everybody? Is the chat fine? Is my English horrible as always? Yes, everything check. Let's start with the section. Not the title of the section, but first, geometry nodes. Geometry nodes. Let's start with the best kind of news, which is performance improvements. There is also one new node in the family, but the performance, the best part. There are performance projects going on around Blender. We know the mesh editing performance improvement is coming sometime this year, before 3.0 hopefully, but many other areas that need performance improvements. Cycles X is gonna be crazy good in terms of performance. We already seen it. People have been sharing on Twitter hashtag Cycles X and crazy improvements. I've been using it over the weekend, over last week. But this one, check out Hans Goody. Our great Hans, he been working on parallelizing attribute nodes, so multi-threaded, well, when possible. So look at this example using AMD Ryzen 3700X. So it's not even like top of the line and impossible to buy 5950X, whatever. With 4 million vertices or elements in the attributes, it depends on a per node base, but the attribute, for example, look at this, align rotation to vector, where it used to take 650 milliseconds, now it's 70. So around 9 times, over 9 times faster to calculate the align rotation to vector. So if you are using a lot this node in your setups, in your geometry nodes, now this should be way faster. You should really, the splash image, that file must be a great benchmark. The upcoming one by Erindale, I think that would be pretty epic. Erin, are you watching the live stream? Sometimes it's on the last week, I think it was on the stream. It would be great. Attribute math, almost 6 times faster. Color ramp, 5 times faster. Mix, over 4 times faster, 4.5. Attribute sample texture, also almost 5 times faster. Math node, attribute math, such a basic operation, basic node. When you do add, at least it's 4 times faster. Depends on the mode as well. So if you do automatic in the align rotation to vector, it's faster apparently than other modes. But yeah, super great news. Vector math, refraction is 3 times faster, and map range using vector data type is over 4 times faster. So yeah, all over the place. Performance improvements in attribute nodes. And I think it's multi-threaded, right? So the more threads you have, so the more you have a thread reaper, I would be pretty curious to see how that is going to improve. So yeah, super neat. Hello everybody on the chat. Hello Legendary Mako TV, and everybody saying hi here. I have your chat right next to where I'm reading the news on the left, so I can keep an eye on both. Can split in two like a chameleon. All right, new node alert. That was all for improvements in geometry nodes. There are more improvements, but more like low level. You know that, yeah, low level. So they are not for, you don't see it in the user, or they're maybe not as easy to calculate, but it's more like internal functions that have been improved. But this one is a new node alert. Transfer. You can now transfer attributes from one place to the other, from one node to the other. So let's see it in action, because today we have a little bit more time actually. So I'm gonna open up Blender, the latest master, compiled at home, cook at home, baked at home. Let's go to the new geometry nodes workspace, add a attribute transfer node. Let's see what it has. It has bunch of options. So the domain, it can be automatic, or you can choose if it wants to be a face, point, edge, face, corner. So you can specify which domain to transfer to. Maybe you're having a similar name in 2 different domains, so maybe you can. This is 3.0, people asking in the chat. Transfer also allows you to choose what kind of mapping. So you can use the nearest or the nearest face interpolated. Actually has a very nice tooltip. We don't see that often in nodes. Sometimes, because it's not supported on sockets, it says just the default one. It's not so easy to fix. It's been tried a few times. It requires a more of a under the hood work, but we are aware of this issue. However, for this kind of inputs, the drop downs, the menus, you can have tooltips. So you should check them out. You should read it. Like in this example, transfer the attribute from the nearest face on a surface. That means that loose points or edges are going to be ignored. So the ones that are not connected to anything, if you have points floating around, edges that are not connected to anything, they are going to be ignored. So yeah, source geometry, source attribute that you want to map, and the destination. So where do you wanna, or you can also type a new name if you want to create a new attribute from the transferred one. So if we wanna make a new one in the transfer geometry, isn't that great? Such as automatic. I love when things are automatic, or that you can specify, because usually, you know, you have to think less. You can rely more on optimizations, because you can assume what people are going to be using. And in this case, the attribute convert node now has an auto option. So you can see the, so you don't have to set it up. So whatever you connect, it should be automatic. And we're planning on adding more of these all over the nodes. So for example, the switch node, right now you have to choose what type you want to switch from, like float, geometry, integer, and that the team is planning to make it automatic. So if you plug in a geometry, it should switch to geometry. If you plug in a float or a integer color, it should all be automatic in the background. So less clicking for the better. And this tiny news comes from the spreadsheet department. There is a new column for instanced IDs. So it's mainly for like debugging, so you wouldn't use it that much. However, it's there right now because it helps debugging. However, in the future, once we can we have a way to filter columns, like we want to have like a search where you can type, or you can have like rules to show depending on like value or on name. You can choose which columns to show in the spreadsheet. The ID column for instances is shown now, but maybe would be hidden by default in the future because not really something you would use that often. And this one came up from a node, a bug report. Geometry nodes, point separate nodes. So this was a bug report that in order to debug this, Hans added the column. So it's, you see, when you report issues, report bugs, sometimes they end up as features to help debugging these issues. And that is all for the geometry nodes section of the week. I'm gonna have a little drink here. I don't have mate today because I was dealing with this audio problem. Sorry for people that were watching this live. I look at the amount of tests that I had to do for for trying to get the sound right. I don't know what. Sound and Linux never got along. I don't know why there's so many alza, pulls, jack. There must be good reasons, but it's a bit annoying. However, if I move to Windows for streaming, then I have other issues. So that's more of a problem. I was sick here. Maybe somebody that is familiar with Linux, the problem I have is the pitch sometimes goes down. When I start recording, it's like, oh, I speak like this. So I could actually stream, but my voice will be even worse. So if you have any help, you can help. If it's a known issue, leave it in the comments. However, now it's time to move into Grease Pencil section of the day, and the title of this video. Look, the super nice. There is a new setting in the opacity and in the thickness modifiers that allows you to use an object as the distance to calculate from the object to calculate the thickness. So you can let me show you. Let's see it in action. The dose. Hello. Yeah, you just arrived in time. Look at that. It's the dose. He's the author of Blender 2.82 splash screen and amazing Instagram account, even with trivia about movies. Super cool. Anyway, let's go into to the animation, and I'm gonna make a awesome stripe here, like, ooh, beautiful, and then a smile at the end. Okay, so let's say you want to control the thickness of this stroke with another object. So let's try an empty. I'm gonna add a little cube so we can see it here nicely, and in the modifier, thickness modifier in this case, I can, for example, thickness, I'm gonna use a fading effect here, enable the fading box, choose the empty, and that is pretty much it. You just now move around the empty and you should see it's very subtle, the effect, but let's make it more intense. So let's make it like the ending value smaller. So you choose the thickness at the beginning and the thickness at the end. I think it's like a factor. So now see, I can actually make it even less. So it's almost gonna disappear. If I lower the factor, it's almost gonna disappear. There you go. So I put the end factor. This is a bit confusing. I'm not sure if this is end factor. I think it's like an overall thickness. It's not only for the end. So this is what you can do. Super cool. You can control, you can draw basically. It's super nice. Let's increase the thickness here. Woo. There, thick boy. So nice. Can't wait to see what you people do this. There you go. Nice. And this effect is also allowed. Is a fall of type? No, there is no fall of type. Actually, that's a very good idea, Kates, because the currently what I guess is using some linear fall off, but it would be great if it would have like a curve. That would be the best, right? Like this. Like you can control. Oh wait, you actually can. No, it's the overall thickness, not only the fall off. Yeah, no, it's everywhere. So we would need some kind of widget to control the custom curve fall off type for the fading. So once it fades, you can make it fade more of a quadratic or custom. Yeah, that would be great actually. Thanks for the idea, Kate. Sketches, super cool. Yay. And this effect is also available in the let's disable it for now and affect the opacity. That's the other modifier that is currently having this same let's make it 0, and now we can it's like drawing opacity factor 2, and then you get a bit more intense. So yeah, it's like a mask out. Super neat. It doesn't take the scale into account actually. It's just the center, the origin. And again, the fall off here, it seems to be just linear, like some kind of spherical shape, you know, like this around the center point. So maybe it would be nice to have an option for that. Super neat. Ghost pen, yes, exactly, like Ghostwriter. Anybody's watched the Ghostwriter in Discovery Kids? Or maybe I am showing my age. Anyway, super neat stuff. Thank you, the team. Let's give credit where credit is due. Where is it? Here. Yimingwu. Thank you, Yimingwu. Also developer of line art. Super cool. Thank you, Yiming. You are awesome. You know what else is awesome? When existing features get improved as well. So let's see the improvements to the well, this one wasn't the one that I wanted to show, but blank objects. When you add a blank object, like a grease pencil object without anything, completely blank, so you start typing from scratch, it would come completely blank. And based on community feedback, it helps to have at least a layer and a material, basic material by default, just so you don't have to create one. It saves you a couple clicks that over time is going to save a lot of time. So very nice addition. Thanks, people. And I copied the wrong code, but let's just I have the feature. You know what else is been added and it's great, but when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, maybe we are missing something else here. So the array modifier, well, we're talking about modifiers, the array modifier on grease pencil objects now have an option that people have been asking forever in other places in Blender as well, which is randomization. You can randomize the so for example, you have a bunch of monkeys, and now you can randomize the position, rotation, so you can have different rotation in each instance, and the scale too. So for example, let's uniform scale, even though it's on, it's not doing. Yeah, we shouldn't have that down there, right? Anyway, you make it random, so you can randomize values in the array modifier. However, it's only available in grease pencil objects, and we shouldn't be doing that. I think once we have a feature like this in a modifier that is shared with other object types, we should add it to other object types, right? I think we should have the randomization also here for objects, not only for grease pencil objects. Otherwise, you know, we kind of drift away from having feature parity between same object type, same here. I think it's a good practice to look at the same modifiers in two different so for example, object, let's see, object, let's compare everything here. For example, in objects, the object offset setting is called object, but here it's called object offset. So we should make that constant. I think this one is fine. No, the default value for constant in X for objects is 1, but for grease pencil objects is 0. That also should be a bit more consistent. So yeah, I think once we add these features, it should be added everywhere in a consistent way. We need circular arrays, or we just need geometry nodes to take over the array modifier and make it. We have to find a way to how to deal with this with sub panels, so for the layout to make it a bit nicer. But overall, I think it's a good candidate for being geometry nodes, because then we could have circular arrays, randomization, well, everything you can do with geometry nodes. Let's move on with the next feature. We have another improvement in the grease pencil, but this case not a modifier but a effect. So do you know the effect glow? That now it looks a bit dirty, but if you actually let's remove the background. There you go. So glow now has a setting for the threshold, so you can control the overall influence. Like you can limit the influence to a certain threshold. It works like many other parts of Blender that have a threshold, or 2D softwares as well. Then the next, well, let's give credit. Threshold I think was added by Folk. Yes, thank you Folk for your contributions to Blender. The next improvement is that now you can convert text to grease pencil. So not only curves, you can bypass that and convert directly from text to grease pencil. Isn't that great? And you know what? I think we're done with grease pencil. Let's move into, well, now it's a bit of everything. So let's do a potpourri section. Potpourri. All right. Hans is in the chat. All the randomization stuff is covered in a general way by geometry nodes anyway. Yeah, so I guess we just need geometry nodes support for grease pencil objects. Just, you know, like a small thing. But if we have curve support, grease pencil shouldn't be that far. I guess the layer thingy will be a bit kind of complex. Material settings also. Yeah. The other improvement. Okay, we are in the potpourri section, so it's gonna be a bit of everything. The user interface improvement. This is super nice. Look, asset browser object thumbnails. Not only asset browser, but in general, object thumbnails have been always taken. These thumbnails on the top row, you see they're always from the front and with a very distorted, I think it was 35mm. So when the camera was too close, you can see the monkey was a bit too deformed. So you wouldn't see exactly what it is. And in the case of a grid or a plane, it looked like there was nothing. It looked like a bug. However, it wasn't a bug. It was just that the camera was from the front. This great improvement by Harley. He made it so it just tilted the camera a little bit so you can see it in perspective, and also made the lens different so it doesn't deform that much. I think it's an 80mm or so. Yeah, great change. So thank you Harley for having always that eye for, you know, those details that make Blender much better. You can now find a donut. You can see a donut shape in Blender. So cool. The other improvement is that this is more a pipeline related. Library overrides now support drivers mute. So you can mute or temporarily disable a driver. This was needed by the Blender Studio team. They are using cached pipeline. So once the animators are done with a shot, they can cache all of that and it goes to the lighting step without having to worry if the rigging is still working or that the animation was something changed in the model or missing stuff. Caching is essential in a production pipeline, so pretty happy to say this. Drivers mute flag override. The other improvements in this potpourri section goes to Documentation. Hey, we don't talk about documentation that much. Super important. The GPU module now has a there is a few examples where you can see the new API for the GPU module. So the old BGL. If you're making add-ons, this is very important documentation. So it's great to have these examples. Thank you, Hermano Cavalcante. You can find it in the current or the latest version of the API, the Blender Python API, which is current, but here's 292. That's a bit wrong. Next improvement is well, it's just related to that, and I think I'm pretty much done. It's updating the API from the BGL to use the new GPU module, and that is pretty much it, I think. Yes, we have a summary of that, and maybe I can show you this small how is it called, teaser. I said at the beginning of the show that I don't talk about branches or things that do not that are not really in Blender yet, but this one is super cool. It's a promise. It's not a promise, it's work in progress, but hey, it involves the so hyped and waited for asset browser. Look, now you can, in the branch, you can drop an object and it will snap to the surface, and it's going to show you a preview with the bounding box of that object. So that is it. That's amazing. This is Blender. It's not an add-on. It's not, because there are many add-ons that do this, right? So you can't be like, yeah, I've seen this many times. But the fact that it's now built in Blender and it's made now with no hacks, no Python, it's just pure. It's super cool. Stacking coffee table stuff. Oh, that's so nice. And the lamp up there. That's so cool. Julian Eisel been working on it, so thank you, Julian. It's amazing. Tables. They snap to the surface and to the normals. That is so cool. Drag and dropping. Snapping to surface. Yes. Features that are... It's like, why weren't they there before? But hey, they're super welcome. That is all for this week, I think, in terms of updates. You can read the recap on the devtalk.blender.org on the weekly updates meeting list. So thank you, Hans, for working on it, and Dalai as well, and everybody in the team. That is all, I think. Let's go through the questions. Let's see how many questions do we have. So let me refresh this one last time and see how many I can answer. So no, it's not an add-on. That is really Blender, built in Blender. I said it on purpose. Blender. Okay, time to see how many questions. 17 questions. All right, I'm gonna upvote you, the Cabal app, because without you it would be nothing. Sansul CG says, hey Pablo, hope you're having a great day. I'm having a fantastic day. I went to the studio today. We were talking. Tomorrow I'm going to the studio again because we are in May, and in a matter of weeks, in 23 days, the new Blender 2.93 long-term support release is out. So I have to go to the studio tomorrow. We're gonna have a meeting about discussing the release plan, right? Everything that goes into the release notes page, and are we gonna make a video about it or not? We're gonna have Southern Shorty to make the video or not, that kind of things. Well, we probably are if he wants, of course, because it's been great so far. And but yeah, many things to discuss, so thank you. I hope you also having a great day. The question itself is, just wanted to introduce Blender Bob to the community, and you as well. Blender Bob, is that a person? He's using, yeah, he's using Blender in feature films and commercials and making really advanced, complicated stuff, and promoting Blender on the world stage. Also sharing his professional workflow on YouTube for free and giving back to the community. He was previously known working in Method Studios, and he works at Real. Ooh, by Fake now. In this video, he mentioned some very minor yet crucial things that Blender is somewhat lacking. I think you could take a look. You should take a look. Timestamp 12 and 13 minutes. I really appreciate if you check out his feedback. 12:30. Let's see. Today I think we have a bit more time, so we can look into this. What is it?
They use a lot of scripts, and a lot of things are automated, and the names of the objects are very important for these scripts. So moving a few objects is one thing, but what if you want to move a tank with 1,000 parts? Well, you don't want to select them all one by one, so you need to find a way to group them together. Blender unfortunately doesn't have groups. So
the group discussion. Yes, we are aware of that. There are plans, discussions about it, how we should go. Is it like we should improve collections and have like some kind of collection, improved collections, you know, like being able to move a collection, to transform, to group, to exclude, to have dynamic collections, maybe also all by using a wildcard, for example. And the other one was
parent objects together.
So parent objects to a collection, for example, and 1304.
So this way you can modify it. Another way to do it is to create an empty and you parent everything to the empty.
Exactly. It's all workarounds. I think if we had collections, because we have the concept of an active collection already, right? You have you click here. If we just add transforming and to a collection, that already will go a long way. Oops. And yes, let's see. Next question. So another question. If an add-on that doesn't come with Blender does something very simple yet saves a lot of time and trouble, should it be implemented in Blender in future? Thanks. Absolutely. I mean, it depends on the well, like Node Wrangler, it started as a community add-on and it was added to Blender, for example, but now it's time that it should be in Blender by default, which we are planning to, by the way, by moving some of the operations to, not by removing Node Wrangler, but actually moving or porting some of those features into Blender's core code, and maybe still leaving the Node Wrangler add-on for more advanced usage, or more experimental usage, more corner case. It's always fun to have an add-on that can mess with Blender, right? But not affect other workflows. The next question is not a question, it's a feature request. Please make some CAD functionality. There's so much proposal for CAD and precision modeling. Yeah, there are many add-ons as well available for CAD modeling. Should be more specific though, but yeah. There's a lot of there's a big community around CAD in Blender itself. Harry Newman. Hi Pablo, I hope you're doing well and thank you for the live stream. You asked some time ago what hidden features in Blender we would like to highlight. My suggestion would be to place the smart batch rename operator into the outliner's right-click menu. As far as I know, the operator is only accessible via the shortcut when multiple objects are selected in the outliner. Actually, I think you can also do it from here, right? Batch rename. Yeah, it's in the edit menu. In edit, batch rename. Is it in the right click? Rename active object. It's the active, but maybe we should also have it here, right? Like if you have multiple objects, it should be batch rename should be, I think. And then here, yeah, that could work as well. This menu is a bit of a mess. It's getting a bit long. That's a problem. This menu is like, there's super important data here, like ID data stuff that I'm hiding with my face. But this is super important, like making fake user, mark asset clearing, all of that, and it's hidden in a second level menu. So, well, actually, this should show up in here. Yeah, if you click on the actual ID icon, then you get it directly, which is nice. Yeah. We're missing the icon here for mark asset. Next question. Let's see. Jan, every release of Blender is amazing, but is there going to be anything extra special or game-changing with the 3.0 release? Or will it be treated basically like every other release? First is gonna be treated as the main idea is to have it just like every other release, which if you look at it like every other release is actually pretty big, and any of the latest releases could have been a 3.0 equivalent. However, because it's 3.0, there are some liberties, some freedom in maybe making some bold changes, making some cleanups, getting rid of features that maybe are not maintained anymore, or improving on those, changing shortcuts that people in the community have been giving feedback on what would work better, changing some of the theme settings, you know, making a bit more streamlined. There are many improvements that can be done, including more of a file saving, file loading, maybe involving more USD in it. There are proposals in terms of time. The timeline for it, the first plan actually, which is still on the website, it's to release Blender 3.0 on August, right? I think it's at the end of August. Yeah, August 25th. However, there are discussions of maybe would make sense to extend this a bit more. It depends. Now, once 293 is out, I think this will be a bit more clear. But it's not decided yet what is going to happen. Maybe it makes sense to extend it slightly more. However, I think the entire 3.x series, 3.1, 2, and 3, are going to be where the big things happen. You know, 3.1 is going to be mainly about Cycles X, but who knows what else is going to appear. Yeah, exactly. Like Zorro Weaver says here, who knows? How to get a job in Blender? Do Blender stuff and put it, share it everywhere. That's how you get a job. By sharing your work, letting people know what you do. That's the best way. That's how I got a job. I was making animals, cartoons, characters, and put them on the forums on Elysian, now Blender artists. Okay, Voxel9 says, hello Pablo, hello everyone. My questions today are not only for you but also for the rest of the Blender Today fans. Hey, would you agree to delay the release of Blender 3.0 in order to include Cycles X, like linking or more enhancements to the texture painting and USD exporter? So that's question one. Would you agree to include to delay to include Cycles X, light linking, or more enhancements to the texture painting? That's a lot of different projects that don't depend on each other. Actually, I think the USD part is closer. Importer, you mean, because exporter is there. The Cycles X, though, I don't think we should rush. I don't think we should put pressure on the poor people that are working on it. They already show what is possible when you are left alone and leave you to work. Nobody knew about Cycles X until a few days ago. So they did that, all of that improvements. Imagine if you don't have the entire community sending emails and posting on the forums and stuff. It's like, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? 3.0. I think it's just better. Come on, if it's not 3.0, it's gonna be 4 months later. It's not too much. It's not too much to ask. I think delaying 3.0 would be good, but I don't think it would be very healthy for developers to for these two developers that are working on it to have the entire weight on their shoulders. It's like, hey, we're delaying 3.0 because of you, because of your cycles. So yeah, I think the branch is available. It's gonna be fine. You know, Blender releases, I think people hear about them enough. So it's gonna be fine. And also, if 3.0 comes out and it's just as great as other releases. Then with 3.1 we have another big wave of improvements of hype to make a splash in the industry or in the forums or everywhere. Because if people see, hey, there's a new Blender 3, awesome, I'm gonna try it, and then there's a 3.1, it's like, hey, there's another reason to download Blender again, and that's a good thing. Light linking though, that could even be added before. Texture painting, that's gonna take longer, but it's gonna come. Eventually it will all come. The next question, what would you recommend to someone who watched BlenderToday for a few years to help him with his compulsion of lowering the volume at the end of every movie and video he is watching? Just asking for a friend. Let me see if I can read in between the lines. So lowering the volume at the end of every movie and video. Okay, so you are lowering the volume because of the sorry. Yes. Don't. I would say don't. Just embrace it. Just raise the volume all the way up. If it's too loud, you can let me know. I can try to lowering it. But yes. I don't know what other people think about it. I don't have it at the maximum. I have it slightly below the maximum. So embrace it. Put it all the way up. Actually, I would say remove your headphones and let your neighbors know that BlenderToday is over. And you gotta wait for another week. Next question by Slag Nugget. Riddle me this, Pablo. Why do you think Blender has become so much bigger than all the other art type open source projects? GIMP, Audacity, Krita, etc. Because, well, I have two answers for that. One, it's, I don't know. One answer would be like, okay, let's answer the other one, the other side, which is more easy. In Blender, you can do anything, really. Like, it's 3D. It's unfair to compare 3D with 2D. Like I mean, not saying GIMP and Krita, they're amazing for what they do, especially Krita now that is working on animation as well. That is, you can do amazing things, but it's really hard to beat 3D. You know, like being there, getting a VR headset, just making look photoreal or cartoon in just a matter of few clicks is just insane. You don't need to know how to draw to make something in Blender. And however, for GIMP, Krita, for 2D painting tools, also it's you can't compare it. Even I would say even Photoshop. Come on, it's 3D. It's like comparing Maya with Photoshop. You know, both are great at what they do, but one lets you be in a freaking 3D environment and the other one doesn't. It's just more, yeah, it's completely different. However, in well, Audacity, in terms of audio, I think Audacity is huge. Every tutorial you see out there, everybody uses it. It's huge. It's like VLC. Also, it's insane how many people use it. Firefox, well, maybe less people now, but in the past it used to be super huge. OBS, the software that I'm using to share this, it's just it's open source and it's huge. However, Blender, it's very special in that 3D can do anything. And the other side of that question is that I don't really know why is Blender so special. Ton once mentioned it. I think we were having a meeting about what is so special. He gets messages from people all over the world, from all ages and all life situations, and it's just heartwarming to see the amount of love that people feel for Blender, the amount of I don't know, what is it? What is it? Why do you feel attached to Blender? Even though it has changed for so much since the beginning, but even 20 years ago when Blender, it was fugly, it was hard to use, it was just shortcuts, it was impossible. And even though that gained a huge community, 1998. What happened? What happened? So yeah, it was really popular. Come on, Blender. It raised 100,000 euros. I don't know if you know that, but Blender, to become open source, it was already popular and it was paid. Not paid. You could pay for a little key, but why? Why was it so much fun to use back then? Maybe because it worked on a lot of hardware. I don't know. But people were attached and they were making communities. Like the Brazilian community is one of the oldest. Before Blender was free, and there was already a community around it. What is it? What's so special about Blender that before even it was free, that it gathered people together? The same happened. Well, then became free. It was even bigger. And 1998, it went online. And then in 2002, it was bought by the community, raising 100,000 euro from the community. Like in 2002, there was no Twitter, no YouTube, no nothing. It's just blogs and mailing lists. And even then, it raised a bunch of money, which to make it free and open source like we have right now. It was amazing. It was amazing. There is something special about it, that's it. And long time since there has been a guest on Blender.Today. Yeah, I know, but who can I invite? I feel like guilty for taking people's time for this. Like people are, the guys are working. Okay, I think we're way over time. Let's do 5 more questions. It's 6:15. Oh, and I have to do the live stream in Spanish in 45 minutes. 5 more questions. Andre Kling says, hello Pablo, do you know when the new vertex color from Sculpt will become out of development mode? It won't because it's gonna be replaced by something better. It's gonna be renamed. It's gonna not be called Sculpt vertex colors, but it's gonna be something even cooler. It's gonna be more generic, and it's gonna be just as fast as the Sculpt mode, but also there are plans to maybe even rename Sculpt mode. There are no plans, but ideas going around, discussions. Maybe, you know, can be something else. Who knows? Let's continue. Silas S. Hello. How are the animations improvements coming together? Like maybe a muscle system or implicit skinning. I hope the audio issues are gone now. Thank you. Now they are gone, I think. Sila S. Hello. How are the animation improvements? Well, they are coming alone. I don't know. You can follow actually the animation team meetings, and let's see other meetings, and then Blender. Where's the animation? Or maybe they have their own here. Animation and rigging, and then meeting. Here you go. Module meeting, 29th of April. So pretty recent. And you can see here who was present. Wow, that's a big team. Bassam was there, and Bjorn. That's so cool. Wow. Look, community and developers. That's so cool. I didn't know they were involved. Post library demo. There is a presentation and a personal website. Why? Wow. Well, this I haven't seen. That's okay. That's cool. This should be in Blender.Today though. There's even a demo of the post library. I'm finding out about this with you guys. That's so cool. Anyway, this is what the team is working on at the moment. The post library using the asset browser. Which, okay, is not implicit skinning or the other improvement that you mentioned. Muscle system, that's not even mentioned. That's also separate. But yeah, the team is currently working on improving the post library. However, if someone else from the community works on something like this, would probably be parallel development. And that was 2 questions. Number 3. Hi Pablo, so excited to see many improvements coming to Blender. Cycles X looks extremely powerful. It looks, and it is. However, do you foresee that some modeling features could be improved as well? In particular, the extrude manifold feature is extremely useful. However, when extruding in the negative direction, it can automatically cut through. It can't cut through geometry like in other softwares. Really hoping to hear your thoughts about this. I also think the extrude manifold feature it's halfway. It halfway. Literally halfway, because it's missing when you missing to remove, so like be distractive. So that is an improvement that yeah, developers are aware, I would say. However, yeah, it's like Cycles looks great, but we need modeling improvements. It's a different team altogether. The modeling, I think the modeling team at the moment is focused on the mesh editing that's the next project or the current project for the team, working on improving the mesh editing performance, which is also, I would say, higher priority at the moment than the extrude manifold feature. However, this feature was added by someone from the community, so it could be worked out by other developers. If you're watching this, please. Okay, I think I can go to the bottom because it's the one that was asked before, 42 minutes ago. What is the main reason behind the decision of making Control A on a modifier only work on selected modifier now? Actually, it has been reverted. Yeah. Thank you, Slow Kid. But yeah, no, this has been changed. It was only for one release, I think. But based on community feedback, it went back to working on mouse over. And while I'm here, hello Pablo, I want to know if there's any way to use any denoiser while baking textures. I don't think so. I'm not familiar with it, but I don't think so. Unless you use the compositing one. No, you need the denoise image. Yeah, no. Yeah, what APIs are being considered for the replacement of OpenCL? Well, I guess in terms of Mac, it would be Metal, of course, and the other Intel or AMD, I think they have also their own, but that is up to them, I would say. Okay, I'm running out of voice, and I have to start the live stream in Espanol. If you know anybody that knows Spanish, let them know about the show, because I do exactly the same like I do every week. However, I do it in Espanol for those that can't. Yeah, I use the same music, but instead of using Zelda, I start with the Sonic. Okay, time to go full screen and tell you that we're gonna do this again next week at the same time. What are we gonna be talking about? I think we're gonna be closer to the release 293, and we should see more improvements. The teams, I think, are back to full speed after the back sprint week, so we should see more of that. But yes, let's get to the music. Okay, watch your headphones or your ear holes. If you're using a speaker, please put it out loud to let your neighbors know that we have finished today's episode. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. All right. It's been a pleasure. Next week, same place, same time, for another episode of Blender Today 151. Yes, the actual number of Pokemons in the first generation. Ciao.